Shalom, I am Rabbi Shaul Praver. You're watching Rabbi Rock. Today we're going to talk about the power of listening. Did you ever feel like someone was really listening to you? How does it make you feel? Validated? Good? Like you got through to somebody? How about the other way? How about when you were talking to somebody, it was like talking to the wall? How did that make you feel? You know, there are people that get paid $120 an hour because they know how to listen. You ever find yourself thinking about what you want to say, your point of view, your feeling, while the person is talking to you? Now, think about how you feel when someone's really listening to you, and now think about the power that you have to make other people feel the same way by being a good listener. The most sacred prayer in the Jewish religion is what we call the Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, God our God, God is one. It's the word Shema, hear, which is used as our sacred mantra that we say. We say as a congregation 3 times a day, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. We say it that way with our eyes closed so that we could really focus in on hearing. It's not only hearing others, it's hearing our own voice within ourselves, which is the core of our spirituality. We're not saying, as if we were Moses on the mountain, oh, hear Israel, hear the voice of God. No, we're speaking to the Israel within ourselves, the Israel, the aspect which is transcendent, the part that is greater than angels, the part of us that can wrestle with angels and overcome, the part of us that is able to overcome great challenges in the world. That is the part, the transcendent soul, that we are speaking to when we say, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hear that transcendent soul, that's me, within me. Hear that God is one, that there's no separation, there are no gods, there's no disconnect between what happens in nature. We might not understand the events of the world, but ultimately there's no disconnect. It's all what we call Elokut. It's all divinity. Everything is woven of the fabric of Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, the most frequent word that's used, is the word to hear. The Kabbalists give us greater insight on what this means, the power of hearing. You know, the Kabbalists sometimes point out things that are right in front of us, right in front of our nose, so to speak. For example, look at your own eyes, look where they are, and look at your nose, your mouth, and your ears, if you notice, are further back, sort of in the center of your head. And it suggests, say the Kabbalists, that the power of hearing is a deeper sense than the power of seeing. I know they say seeing is believing, but in a spiritual sense, the deeper sense is the power of hearing. You know, when musicians talk about, I hear that, or a songwriter, they hear a song in an instant. They hear the whole song in a split second. They hear the concept. They don't really hear the notes like if you were going to play them on the piano, but they hear them in a way that's hard to describe. Whereas the power of vision, the sense of vision, is easier to describe what it is. The power of what you hear is a lot deeper. Hearing could also mean I understand that. We often say, yeah, I hear that. I hear ya. It is a deeper sense, and it's a very powerful sense. I don't know of anybody that gets paid $120 for watching somebody, but they get paid $120 per hour for listening to a person, because the listening is really the most powerful sense in terms of understanding. in terms of understanding. So today we're going to explore this with our guest, Rabbi Andrea Cohen Kiener, who is a professional listener, and she's going to tell you about what her work is. Some people get a little frightened about the whole prospect of listening to everyone. And we're going to go down that slippery slope and see where it leads us. But in the meantime, for our purposes, when someone talks to you, be present. Really listen to what they're saying. Don't think about what you want to say next. Just relax. Listen to what they're saying. Shalom. Shalom. We're here with Rabbi Andrea Cohen Kiener. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Great to have you here.
Nice to be here.
I enjoyed the interview we had about environmental issues, and now I see that you are also involved in the Compassionate Listening Project. You are the delegation leader, and you train people in this art of listening. Tell us about it.
Well, I'm a delegation leader with the Compassionate Listening Project. We have taken groups of North Americans, Jewish and non-Jewish, into the Middle East for dialogue-based travel through the country in Israel, the West Bank, and Gaza. And the theory is that there's lots of positions on the Middle East conflict, and there's much more taking a position and talking about it than there is actually hearing each other in the conflict. At this point, I would say even inside of the Jewish community and certainly between Jewish and certainly Palestinian communities, there's such a lack of an ability to really sit down and hear each other, understand the other's position. That's almost completely lacking in the political discourse. And we went in to try to understand the positions of people that are living in that conflict. And we had no more goal than that, just to hear how the position was affecting them. And our belief is that bringing together the human stories and the human needs and the human rights of really each section of the Israel-Palestine culture is what will be necessary to have an effective solution, whether it's one state or two state, or any way the map turns out to look like. People are going to have to trust each other and acknowledge each other's needs and honor each other's human opportunities in order to weave a culture there that will be sustainable for both peoples.
But let me understand that you're not really advocating any kind of particular solution, are you? You're just listening, right?
Correct, and we particularly don't take a position, even though you would just like so much to see a good outcome there. You almost have to pull yourself back from like taking a position. But our goal when we get into a delegation is just to understand both the positions, but also the life experience that brought the people to that position, because then we can meet them as human beings rather than opponents or proponents, and really meet them in a human place. And when you do that, you discover that if you're a refugee from Jenin or a refugee from Hungary, you really do need and want the same thing. And people can meet in that place of common humanity.
Who are the most difficult people you've ever listened to?
The politicians are the worst.
For example?
Because, well, we listened to a minister in the Israeli government named David Levy, and he was very, very polished. And what we like to do is sort of get underneath to the level of the human experience, and we just couldn't get this guy out of his position paper. So he spoke on, and I just felt like we're not going to get a breakthrough with this guy. He's not going to speak from his heart. He's up in his head. And he was quite defensive, and
was it what he was saying, or was that he wasn't, as you say, speaking from his heart?